I wanted to make a video about meaning and purpose. Big shocker there. So this past week and weekend, my wife and I took our daughter to Disney World and had a great time, of course. But I noticed something that I really felt compelled to talk about, and so, you know, the biggest part of this trip and taking my daughter to Disney was really just watching her. She's 10 years old, and so it's a good time to take her to Disney and let her experience the magic, but it was a real joy for me, and I was moved by just the amount of happiness and pleasure that she derived out of that, and she was also just extremely grateful, and I found it really easy for me to be enthusiastic with her, and but I didn't notice something that I did until I had some contrast with other dads at Disney World with their kids, and there was a lot of dads who were just as enthusiastic, if not more, than I was, and so certainly a lot of that. But my point is that there were a lot of dads who just seemed miserable, and more than just a fluke, maybe some of those dads I caught in a moment where they just happened to be frustrated and overwhelmed. Maybe they were hot and tired and hungry. I don't know. But I saw a lot of this, and so I can't help but think that it has to be something more than just temporarily circumstantial. And it's like, my thought is, it's like, say what you will about Disney, think whatever thoughts you want to, but I mean, for a kid, it's like, it's kind of a magical time. That's their thing, right? And it's like, I would see these miserable dads, so to speak, and their kids would just like be upset. And I don't mean like throwing a fit, just like not enjoying themselves. And I thought that, like, how miserable do you have to be to take your kids to Disney and not create a magical time for them, because it's not just Disney that creates the magical time. It's you, the parent, the mom, the dad, who is enthusiastic for them and with them to really make this, magical. And of course, I'm using the word magical because that's Disney, right? And so my point is with this is that, again, how miserable do you have to be to take your kid to Disney and not only minimize, but make it miserable for your kid too? And I found myself being rather judgmental about that, at least initially. But as I've thought about it more, I thought, well, this is really sort of the epitome of what I think is the real pandemic, is a lack of meaning and purpose. And so it's like, how much of a meaningless existence do you have to where you can't even take your kid to Disney and help create a magical time for them, So this isn't about me being, better or having some things figured out. It's a real concern of mine. And if you follow my page whatsoever, I think you'll see that most of my stuff always, brings up meaning and purpose in no matter what content that I post or put out there, and so, but I just thought it was remarkable, and it really, at first it sort of, it really annoyed me, and I found myself judgmental in that sense, but then it saddened me, and because it was really sort of a microcosm of just how much nihilism is rampant in our society, and probably the world too, but it's like, and not to just reduce it all down to nihilism and miserable dad at Disney, but it really struck me that you know, how much misery someone has to be in to take their kid to allegedly one of the most magical places on earth and not have a good time, and to see their kid not having a good time. And it was bothersome, you know. And so it's just like the cynicism, the meaninglessness that's out there. It's real, and it's always there. And you know, I think ultimately my point here is you really start to see the implications of the lack of meaning that we have, and how you know, following that progression of triviality and cynicism and then nihilism it impacts and affects the people around you, and not in a good way either, you know. And so it's like everything we do matters, and that's something I talk about all the time. And I think the antidote to, you know, that cynicism and that nihilism is gratitude. And it's hard to practice gratitude, because what that means is that you have to practice gratitude for everything that you do, you know. And so it's like, if I practice gratitude, then maybe I can see the meaning in what I'm doing now and how it connects to the next thing that I'm doing. And ultimately, you know, how it really helps me see the meaningful implications and associations between all the things that I do. And collectively, that carries a lot of weight. That's a lot of meaning. And maybe that creates a better version of myself. And when I do that, I tend to have more positive impact, more of a positive impact on people, you know. But with these miserable dads at Disney this past weekend, I got to see what happens when you don't do that. And I'm grateful that I get to, you know, practice gratitude, but I'm also grateful that I'm aware of that, you know. And that's an important message for me, you know. So, you know, be grateful, practice gratitude, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, you know. Does the world really need more cynicism? Does the world really need more nihilism? That's kind of a rhetorical question, but it's unfortunate that it has to be asked anyway. And so how about let's not try to see things as trivial, and not only let's practice gratitude for what we're doing and the things that we get to do, whether it's just, you know, coming home and hugging and kissing your wife and child, or taking your kid to Disney and helping create a magical time, you know, memories of a lifetime that you would be creating there, you know. And so anyway, this video is way too long, and but I really felt like it was an important message for me to get out.